This just being in, like, literally just being in the sun, I feel like is draining. But I don't know. I'm motivated by my joy that today is the last day of summer.
Yeah, I was very much moving very slowly this morning, and my hair looks incredibly stupid because of it. But I did not get any chance. Like, I mean, I ended up waiting until the very last second before I was just like, all right, I guess I have to get out of bed now.
Yeah, well, we have a listening group tonight, and so I was helping the kids with my wife to her church for childcare, and usually we kind of leave at the same time, but today I'm just like packing lunches, and she's like, "Aren't you gonna get ready?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, eventually I'll get there." I was like, "I gotta be there at 10. We'll see when I make it in."
Yeah,
Anyway.
but that's always the event that people will remember for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Just a big, loud, crazy, high energy event.
It was so worth it. I mean, it was incredible just to see that many people and kids, and just I loved it.
Dude, that bubble machine was ridiculous.
I know. I didn't realize it was kind of like, when they were describing it to me, it kind of seemed like it would just kind of like fall out, but it was like
Full-blown cannon.
It really was a foam cannon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have avoided going down there to look and see if it's just now like a gooey mess.
Right. Yeah. Well, and Brock made a joke about how I was like, we got to get these kids cleaned up before we go home. And Brock was like, this is bath time. What are you talking about? He was like, girls, get back in there.
So we were talking about like all these like mission trip stories yesterday.
Yeah.
And so you came in right after the middle school mission trip had ended.
Yes. Yeah. They left on high school mission trip like a week after I got here.
Yeah. So just, it was all happening as you were transitioning. But I've spent the last 24 hours kind of reminiscing about my own like favorite mission trip stories. And I've been on so many great mission trips, and they are really like one of the more transformative things that we do here. And I was curious if there were some like just brilliant mission trip stories that you've got tucked away that you haven't talked about in a while.
Oh my gosh. I mean, so many. I mean, I think I talked about this before, but like I was super involved with a junior high mission program. A friend of ours started a junior high mission trip program. And so for like, I want to say 10 or 12 straight years, we did them all. And like, I was on the board, I led worship. I took over the organization after a while, and helped to co-lead it. And so I would go on 2 to 5 trips a summer, like when we were
2 to 5?
And when we were in the heat of it.
That is so. That's too many trips.
Well, but the thing that was funny, so fast forward to the end of it, and this was mostly when I was in college and during seminary. But when I started, when we moved down to Dallas and I was a pastor, I didn't have a lot of the time to do all that. And the program also was kind of shifting gears, and we were changing all of that. But the church I was a pastor at, the first church I was at in Dallas, needed an extra adult to go on mission trip. And I was like, I love mission trips. And so, of course, I want to go. And so I went, but they put me as a work team adult. Now, I had not been, I was in my 20s. I mean, I wasn't old, but it had been forever since I'd been on a work team, because so I led worship almost always, or I would be like the director of the camp, or doing like media stuff or different things for it, or I would just be visiting because we were part of the organization. And I was a color group leader a couple times, and you do a little bit of work, but mostly you're just like delivering stuff and going to the store. But I had not like been on a work site out all day long in the heat in July, trying to wrangle. This was high school students.
Where
in
was
like
it?
10 or 15 years. It was just to Rockwall. Like, it wasn't far. It was right down the street.
Just all the way down.
All the way. I was a
Rockwall,
UM Army in
Texas.
Rockwall, but that was one where I was just reminded, oh man, I've had it so easy. I've been on base camp forever, and I'm just used to like in the middle of the day, we're running to Sonic, we're practicing for worship that night, we're setting stuff up, I'm making videos and going to take pictures on the site, and all that's important and great, and I loved it so much, but it's a different experience when that's what your week is, or when you're out in the heat all the time. So
I was very similar. Like my mission trips were, I was always doing worship, and I would always have a band with me, and like we would all preach once, and then the whoever the youth pastor was would preach, and so we had to prep for that one night of preaching, and the rest of it was just focused on worship. And then that morphed into we would go to visit all the sites, capture footage,
take a
get
popsicle,
interviews. Popsicles. There you go. Have a popsicle. I might have one too.
Yeah, everyone loved when we showed up. It was a great job.
Yeah, it's the best part of the job. And then my first couple of mission trips, I very much worked, and I discovered really fast that I'm not used to hitting the ground running at 7 in the morning. It's like shove your breakfast down your throat. We're going to drive very quickly to our work site, and now you're on a roof shingling stuff. And I'm like, it's 7:45, and
here we are.
Oh my gosh, like I didn't even really get a chance to enjoy my coffee. What is this?
Yeah, and that was the jarring part for me too, and also just how localized the work was, because I got to the point, when you're running a nonprofit, you're thinking about insurance, and you're thinking about how is it being perceived by the town? Are we connecting with the local media? How are the parents receiving this? What is our sort of overall reception by the churches who participate to see, are they going to come back next year? And so I'm thinking 30,000 foot view the whole time. But when you're on a work site, you are right in front of you. You got to get the work done. Make sure no one's going to pass out from heat stroke. I mean, it was so micro, and I don't mean like insignificant. I just mean it was so right in the moment, right at 7 a.m. Here we go. Get on the ground, get it done. You don't really look up from your work site for 8 straight hours. And so it was a very different experience in that.
Have you done stuff out of country?
No.
I've done one. It was Mexico.
Yeah.
We did Cinder Block House down in Juarez, and then...
Oh, yeah. Was that for, what is it, Operation Abrigo now? Proyecto Abrigo?
I think so.
Yeah. We were, a couple of churches ago, we were partners with that. It used to be called Proyecto Abrigo, and now I think it's called
Proyecto sounds
Abrigo.
real. That sounds correct. But so if it's same thing. But yeah, we did that, and then because there were all these floods that had happened and like wiped away, because like all these people were living in like, cardboard box houses. It's just like, oh my gosh. Now they had like figured out ways to like make them somewhat manageable. And then there was this big flood, wiped out an obscene amount of homes. And then like 3 days after we left, there was another flood, and it was even bigger. And thank the Lord, like this family that we had just built this, it was a single mom with like 3 boys. And the oldest one was 15, and he had a job. He was the only source of income. We were just like, good Lord. And they're about to live in this cinder block that's it's smaller than this office, which is crazy.
Have you ever been on a college-aged mission trip?
That was the one in Mexico.
That one?
It was all college students. And we were, we decided we did 2. We did that one, and then we did the next year, it was right after Katrina, and we did down in Beaumont. We like fixed up somebody's house. We were mostly doing drywall. That one was brutal.
Yeah, most of my mission trip experience has been with teenagers. I've been on a couple of adult mission trips, and then one college. There was like a massive United College Army down in, I think, the Houston area.
College was good because everybody has work ethic.
It is the best. So I feel like college mission trips are somehow kind of the sweet spot of everything. And not that they're better, but just like with youth, you see so much growth and development, and the spiritualness of it is incredible. But it is tough because you also have to, you got to get teenagers up in the morning. You got to keep them motivated. You got to keep them hydrated. A lot of them don't have any work experience. And so the quality of your work and what you're able to accomplish suffers compared to like when you go with an adult trip. Man, you can knock out a tremendous amount of work, but also adults often are a lot less comfortable opening up and sharing. And also they're, as adults, we're a lot more concerned with like, what's the bed I'm sleeping on? And there's usually a lot more creature comforts. And I think that's one of the benefits of like the youth mission trips is like, you're sleeping on the ground, you're exhausted, and your barriers come down and you really can open up in a beautiful way. And college feels like the medium of both of those, where like you've got usually when you're in college, you don't really have to motivate, and people, they go to class on time. A lot of them have jobs, and they can get more work done because you don't also have when you're in middle school mission trips and you got like 12-year-olds out there where
Right.
can you physically pick up this lumber? So with that, but college students are also great at opening up to their peers, and they're going through this huge coming of age moment. And so I feel like you kind of you can do more work than youth can, not as much as adults, but you're also going to open up a lot more than adults do. So I'd only ever done it once, but I walked away at the end of the week oh man, we had such a moving week. People made such deep connections, and we had 6 calls to ministry that were heard that week from students, and we got a massive amount of work done. And usually it's kind of one or the other. And so I was like, man, this is an untapped resource. We got to do more of these.
I will say that during the middle school mission trip, you saw a whole lot of that. A lot of these middle school kids, this was their first mission trip.
Oh, yeah.
So they don't know how to do 99% of this stuff.
Right.
So trying to get paint off of a shed. And I could see some of the adults watching some of these kids that are just doing, with all the respect I could give, a terrible job of getting paint off of this shed. And just watching the adults be like,
That's not right.
Don't do it
That's
like
not
that.
Right.
Let me please
That's
show
not
you.
right.
But
you
they
can't
have
take
to
over.
learn, and it's one of those things where, and I'm sure at some point, because I wasn't going on mission trips when I was in middle school. My church was too small at that point, and mission trips were kind of a big church thing, and we didn't do that. And so we went on our first mission trips my junior and senior year of high school, and our we had a volunteer youth director. It was a parent, and the parent that they did a lot of things wrong too. They didn't look what week's camp was, because there were only 3 of us who were big and hardcore about camp. And so of course they planned mission trip both years where I was in camp, and they're like, oh, well, just don't go to camp. I'm like, what? I'm sorry, this is the thing I've been doing for 7 years now.
Yeah.
Why would and this is the first time you've done this. And they're like, well, this is going to be great. I'm like, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I remember being very mad about that, because I did want to go on a mission trip, but both years. I'm like, you didn't learn from last year. So I didn't go on my first mission trip until I was already a youth worship leader at a church in Dallas. And we went down to Mission, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
No. My first ones were actually when I was doing a college thing. So my first one was actually Mexico. And then after that, Beaumont. Then I did one as a worship leader down in Mission, Texas. And
Was it MSP?
that was, I don't remember actually.
Mission Service Project. I almost got the
That sounds
trifecta.
right.
Growing up in Arizona, we would go to SSP, which was Sierra Service Project, and we do a lot of work on Indian reservations, which was really cool. And then MSP.
It's also kind of depressing.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of mission trips. You go into areas that a lot of especially if you're coming from, more of a suburban, nice area where your church is, and you've got a lot of suburban kids that have not seen poverty before, and then you go to some of these places.
Yeah, you go to the res, and
it is tough.
These kids are looking around going, why does it look like this?
Right.
And
It's a very complicated question.
It's a very complicated question and a very complicated answer. And you can't really explain that to them. It's just, but that's another good eye-opening thing, because that's another thing is showing kids something that is very much the real world, but that they don't have access to with their own eyes on a day-to-day basis. And I think there's health to that.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times you see people go in with misconceptions. And so a lot of times you get the sort of savior mentality where we're going to go and help people that are in poverty or people that are struggling. and it's very one directional. But people always talk about how they get so much out of a mission trip and they learn so much, especially from the clients that they're working with. And so I think that's a common misconception. The other one that I loved in the program I worked with for years was a junior high only program, and the only project they did was build wheelchair ramps. And it was incredible because yeah, I wrote about it in one of the deep thoughts.
Probably where I heard of it.
Yeah, but it was incredible because usually on junior high trips, all you do is paint, all you do is yard work. You're not allowed to do construction because a lot of times the organization can't get the insurance to cover 12-year-olds in circular saws.
Yeah.
But we were able to get it. And so the only thing we did, we worked a lot with Texas Ramp Project to just do wheelchair ramps in small towns. And so it was a trip because I would say probably 90% of the students who came had never really done major work, any kind of construction work. Maybe they knew how to use a screwdriver, but even that was a stretch, to be honest.
Wow.
And you know, this when you're 12 to 14 years old is kind of the range, and your average 12-year-old can vary wildly in size. And some of them, it would take like 6 kids to carry one 4x4 post. And so all of that on top of it is the whole point of it was to let the students do all the work. And that was really hard for a lot of our adults to sit back because they're not going to do it right. And to watch a, 80-pound 12-year-old kid trying to dig a hole with a post hole digger, and they're pulling out this much dirt every time. And you can watch these adults that are like, I could do this in 2 minutes, or I could go rent an auger and we could dig all these holes out. But that's not the point. The point is that it takes you literally all day to dig these holes, and that's all you do on Monday, and it breaks you down and you want to quit because that's what bonds you. And so at the end of the week, every time I would see these adults stand up and give these heartfelt, sometimes like bring them to tears, like the fact that they were so humbled by these junior high students, and they underestimated them from day one, and they didn't think that they could do any of these things, and they never thought they were going to finish the project. And at the end of the week, they looked back at this ramp that they built. Some of them were 20, 30, 50, 60 feet long wheelchair ramps, and they would say, I didn't do anything. Like, I helped, but the students built that entire thing. They dug the holes, they cut the wood, they poured the concrete, they did everything. And I love that they build the ramps to a much better standard. Usually, wheelchair ramps, you kind of build the frame and then you put plywood on it. And the plywood rots and warps, after like a year, maybe. And so we did it, we would build boxes with stringers and deck boards and screws, not nails. It was those ramps. The number of times that we said, this house will be gone, or this trailer will be gone, and this ramp will be here for 40 years. And I've always wanted to drive through some of these small towns that we worked in, because I know there's just like a 60-foot ramp in the middle of a field now because the house blew away or whatever. But this, this ramp ain't going anywhere. So to see that development of the junior high students was always, and they walked away with this sense of accomplishment because their life in so many ways, as they were underestimated at the camp, and a lot of other ways too. How often is a 12 or 13-year-old empowered to do something as dangerous as construction? A lot of times, a lot of parents, like, they want to do everything for their kids. And so they end up doing things for their kids. And a lot of times the kids don't get a chance to try anything on their own.
Yeah, the amount that they're going to learn in those situations. Like, I've seen it as well, where just these kids, like you said, they barely know how to use a screwdriver, and now we're putting a nail gun in their hand, and we're like, all right, you're going to shingle, or all right, you are going to figure out drywall, or we're going to give you a paint roller and make it look good. And then, then they start to feel like this sense of, I have to do this right. And then, they start figuring out, this is work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite, is the ones who've never been on a mission trip before. And you can kind of see it in their eyes. I'm like, this kid, every once in a while, you'll find a kid that they do get defeated like day one. And then you've got to spend the rest of the week like trying to hype them up. And you might be able to get like 30 minutes out of them a day. But man,
it's tough.
the kids that really figure it out and go, ooh, this is really hard, but I don't want to let my friends down.
Right.
That's a really cool thing to see.
And it's hard too, because the adults have to be so patient, and because these are not your kids and you can't parent them. But it's also tough because, especially when I was junior high, they would be carrying these bags of concrete, 80-pound sacks of concrete. and it would take 2 or 3 of them to get it to the car. Well, a lot of people on mission trips bring their personal vehicles.
Yeah.
And so also when you're 17 or 18, you probably have a car, you have a general appreciation of like how expensive they are and all of that. But when you're 13, you don't really know. And so I would watch these students like throw the concrete in and like the bag might rip a little and it's just like leaking like sackcrete all over the back of somebody's like SUV. And then the students are like, whatever. They'll just like throw the water cooler in and I'm like, oh no, you can't throw a water cooler on top of a concrete bag. You're going to have a brick in the back of your car by the time you get there. And so you would see that and the adults are just like, stay calm. Like, and you can see they like start to like look over at the youth director that like brought them and they're like, you did not tell me this was going to be what happened. And so to watch them learn, I mean, just some of the biggest tests of patience of some of these adults having to like be there with somebody else's kids and like they get whiny, they get hot, and the adults are like, we have to finish this project. Like we've committed. Like we've spent hundreds of dollars on this project. Like we have to finish it. We can't just leave with this half-built ramp. And so they're so stressed out. And of course, all of us in base camp are like, don't do the work. Make the students do the work. Empower them. And they're like, I could kill all of you. Like I don't. You're putting all the pressure on me. You're not letting me do anything. And my fate is in the hands of these 12-year-olds. And so it was
but
a
then
learning
these
experience.
12-year-olds get to go to school a few weeks later, and they're telling their friends about, oh, I built a ramp. I'm like, what? You built a ramp? Yeah, we went down to Beaumont or whatever, or Louisiana, and we built ramps. And I'm like, well, that's crazy. And then that's the other side of that equation, is that they do hold on to those memories, and the older they get, the more they appreciate them. And then that fuels their desire to give back and feed back into more mission trips in the future. That's why you see those kids that are just so diehard. And they went on that first mission trip as a 6th grader, and now they're a senior in high school. They're about to go off to college, and they're like, I will not miss this mission trip.
No, and they're so they not only become such huge advocates for the programs and to recruit in the future, but it's really tough because when we see youth going on mission trips, that seems normal. We expect that. But you hardly ever see adults going on mission trips. And there's a big disconnect. And I've seen that frustration come out in students where they'll feel undervalued or overlooked. Or, I was at a church once where the youth director got laid off because they were having financial struggles. And the youth program was like, you didn't cut the choir director. You didn't cut, like, why did you kill our program? And so sometimes youth can feel left out or undervalued, or they don't get to participate as much as they want to. They don't have a say in things. And I've watched this frustration where they're like, I don't see you going on mission trips. I don't see you going out inviting your friends to church like I do. And I've seen some meetings get a little spicy where the youth are like, I have brought more people to this church and done more work for Jesus than this whole Sunday school class combined. And you don't let us have a vote or a say in anything. And at the end of the meeting, like anybody who's involved in youth is like, yeah, like, go. And everybody else is like, oh, I don't know. What do we do? It's just very awkward in that moment. And so, but I think it's a fair point. Now, it is said without the wisdom of age when teenagers usually go on a rant like that. And there's often way better ways to say it because teenagers also don't understand what it's like to be an adult, just like adults forget what it's like to be a teenager. But I think it's a good point in that we have this expectation that our kids and our youth they'll go to VBS, they'll volunteer, they'll go on mission trip, they'll go to camp, they'll do all of these spiritual and missional things. And then as an adult, we're like, we don't go. We don't feel that like need or expectation. And we've tried to do adult mission trips in like every church I've been a part of, and everyone's like, "Oh, that would be amazing." It's like, "Great, do you want to go?" "Oh, no, I can't." And I'm like, and it's tough because I mean, I think we've
jaded ourselves into this idea that that's only for the younger generation, and then unless we're one of those cool parents that shows up and helps or whatever, but. Yeah, that's rough.
And a lot of times adults, like they'll go on a youth mission trip, which I love, and they would not happen without those adults. But that puts you in kind of a de facto leader mentor role. And I feel like a lot of times adults are a little afraid to subject themselves to being the participant. And if you go on an adult trip, you're not necessarily going to be the leader,
Right.
and you're going to have to do the activity during worship. And and a lot of adults don't want to open themselves up to that.
Well, you're surrendering control.
It's tough.
You're not in control. It's all the powers in the hands of a bunch of 12-year-olds.
Right.
And you are like, I am not a motivational speaker,
Right.
and these kids have no motivation, and I don't know how to give it to them. And my fists are getting clenched, my jaw's tight, and I'm stressed, and I get
I
it.
did hear there was a we had a high school senior one time at a church I worked at years and years ago who said that their dream was to have teenagers run adult mission trips. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? And they were like, well, we're the experts. We go on these every year. We know how to do them. Y'all never been on one. So I think that we should lead your trip as you lead our trip. And like everybody was like, that's a great idea. I would never go on that. And it was hilarious to see in the middle of all of it. But I think that it's a really interesting conversation about the process of discipleship and like what do we expect out of ourselves? What do we expect out of our kids? Because the like embarrassing thing, because I'm the same way, almost everybody is, when you'll ask like adults, why can't you go on a mission trip? They don't want to admit it's because they've already booked all their PTO with vacations. And a lot of times we'll say like, I can't, I just don't have time, as if like somebody took our time, because we don't want to admit that we have prioritized other things over it. And it's like, you don't have any less time than anyone else.
Right.
You've just chosen to spend, and I don't mean I'm the same way. Like we've chosen to spend our time in other ways, and we don't like that pointed out. And I think that's tough because when you do have like a teenager who shows up and they're like, I'm busy too. I'm in band. I play softball. I got school. I have all these things to do, but I still come to youth group every week, and I still go on mission trip and mystery trip and midwinter and
Right.
camp and all these things. And so that argument holds very little water for the teenagers who are so committed to this.
Oh, yeah.
And I love it because I just think the prophetic voice that comes from the teenagers, for some of us as adults, we're like, yeah, I should do that. I have all these expectations that you'll do that, and none of them for myself. And that's a hard look in the mirror sometimes.
Just as a side note, I would love to see more jobs, more bosses, CEOs, whatever, institute this idea that, wait a minute, you're going for a week to do what? Oh, you're going to go help people? Yeah, that doesn't count against you.
Right.
Go do that, report back, but give them like an extra thing, like, hey, I'm going to want you to give a presentation about the value of doing this, of giving your time. It's not going to count against your vacation days. We're not going to take a single day, but I'm going to need you to come back and inspire others to do this. Because that to me would make adults feel less like, oh my gosh, I'm giving away vacation and
Right.
I'm giving away money and resource and all. But if more jobs were like, no, do this, just get other people to see the value in it.
Right.
And we're not going to punish you for it, because that's the hard part. It's like most of it's most likely financial. It's like, well, I'm losing money by doing this, and I lose vacation days, and then my family's going to be mad at me. And
mission trips usually cost money on
Yeah,
top of
they
that.
do.
And I also think that, so the way that we usually solve this problem is adults are usually involved in mission work that the church does, not on a week long, we're going to go somewhere, but like missional programs. That's one thing that I love. Like Creekwood is so missional, and like we talk about all the missional partners we have and everything that we do for the community, and all of that is, I love that. And it's when you go to a church that doesn't really have a missional identity, a lot of times you'll have, people will come in and say like, well, why did you leave, or why didn't you stay? And they said, well, I want to be a part of a church that does something.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I love so dearly about Creekwood, is that Creekwood is doing so much for the community.
yeah, we're going to be a Samaritan Inn tomorrow.
It's everywhere. Open doors starting soon.
Yes.
Like there's all these things, but the part that breaks my heart in the middle of that is, to me, the equally important and valuable part of a mission trip that the youth go on are the relationships they build, the spiritual transformation that they go through. And there's just something about being with people away from your daily routine. A lot of times on these trips, like they can't have their phones with them. So they're disconnected from like the mind suck things that we're always doing all day. You get out of your routine, away from your home, away from your work, away from your school, away from all of this. And it's a little sort of retreat, but also when you're exhausted, you open up a lot more and you bond through the challenge of the hard work, and you learn a lot about yourself and you learn a lot about others. And you get glimpses of that in different like ongoing missional projects in the church that we do. But for the most part, it's about trying to serve the community and meet a need and help. And I think that that's amazing. But I think my kind of sorrow is that that's only half of what a youth mission trip does.
Sure.
And that's where I feel like, how do we recapture that other element of it? How do we get that experience where you're 4 days in and you're so tired and you don't have all your typical creature comforts and you're still stressed about work because you know that's still lingering in the background. But some of my favorite moments, the transformation with the youth always happens, but to see some of the adults who go on these trips and they haven't really done anything like that either ever or in a very long time, because they're constantly doing work, they're raising kids. When they go out of town, they're usually with their family going on vacation. And so they're kind of with their people and their comfort zone all the time. And when you put them in a different setting, a lot of people start to realize, I didn't notice how much that was stressing me out. I didn't notice how fractured this relationship was. I didn't notice how long it's been since I really asked myself, like, how is it with my soul? Because I'm so busy I'm too busy doing work. I'm raising my kids.
Right.
I'm doing. Even at church, I'm doing. I'm leading Sunday school. I'm leading all these things. And a lot of times when you get in that space where your walls come down and you're asked those very direct questions, and you have time to think about it for the first time, maybe ever, and you see that like, and a lot of transformation that lasts long. We talk about the mountaintop experience of mission trips. A lot of that doesn't translate to long term. Once you get back into it, you just go back into your everyday life.
Right.
But I've seen some adults where like they haven't really had that in a very long time, if not ever. And it comes back and it changes them. And they create a quiet time, or they go on the trip regularly, or they change the way, because they want access to that again. It's like, I got a taste of that like spiritual connection that was missing from my life. And I don't want to wait until a youth mission trip again next year, because I might not be able to go on it. Can I recreate that in other ways? And so I love that so much. And I think it's such a key element that it's really hard to capture outside of a trip.
It is. It's so hard. But that it does, at least for the youth, I think that it's that kind of last huge thing at the end of the summer that like gives them that jolt of energy to get them into that school season, which leads me to my next thing that I want to talk about is going from this, camps in summer and mystery trips, mission trips, doing youth week stuff, doing VBS to kick off the summer, all of these things, these big fun summertime things. I love them. But for me, I would venture to say that almost more than anything, I love getting into the groove of the fall.
Oh yeah, me too.
That is when I'm like, now we can start getting some stuff done,
right.
And we have that beautiful spiritual motivation from the summer and all the things we accomplish, and great stories, great video, great pictures, memories, all this cool stuff. But now we can start getting after it. There's this thing that the whole back to school, kind of this rhythm, because once you get into a rhythm, like people talk about it in sports all the time. Man, when a quarterback gets into a rhythm, get out of the way. It's like watching Peyton Manning in the last 3 minutes, and they've got to get 2 touchdowns just to tie the game.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning,
they don't even hear the crowd.
Or Tom Brady, or whomever, these top tier quarterbacks, they will get into a rhythm. It's a rhythm. And then the other team's job on defense, all they're trying to do is stop a rhythm, because you can accomplish the most when you're in a rhythm, because now everything's working. Now the engine's humming. Now you're getting somewhere. And I love this back to school time. And I personally just feel like I'm now motivated, at tip top, to go, all right, I'm about to start getting some stuff done.
Yeah.
And it's not like I wasn't getting anything done before, but now it's like,
I'm so with you. And to me, we joked recently about our mutual disinterest in preseason football, but
Yes.
to me, August feels like preseason church, where like because the summer is so sporadic. I mean, people are gone, they're traveling. We've got mission trips and VBS. Like programming is some of the most amazing things, but also it's the summer. It's hot. I mean, there's just a lot of inconsistency. It's hard to get into a rhythm in the summer. Kind of no matter who you are, it's hard to get into a rhythm.
Right.
And so I love that. And back to school is kind of the first taste of like, yes, people are going to be back into a rhythm. We can start to get back into it, but also, I mean, if you don't have kids, or even if you do, a lot of people still, they want to hit that Labor Day weekend to try to get one final trip in. And even if you go back to school and you get into that rhythm, you've got new teachers, new schools, you're trying to figure it out. So a lot of times we see a ton of families on back to school Sunday, and then we don't see much of them for the next couple of weeks because they're exhausted. They're trying to figure it out. And it's not, to me, it's not until the Sunday after Labor Day. So this year, I think it's like September 7th. That to me is like week one of the regular season where you're into it. And
regular football started.
Here we are. And also you have, so the caveat to all of this that really colors my experience is I hate the summer. I hate everything about it. It's hot. Church is irregular. There are no like fun church holidays to like, or church seasons to do. There's not even that many like other fun holidays. Like 4th of July is fun, but it's kind of like a flash in the pan. There's not a lot of like you decorate for things and do a lot of fun things. And I hate the heat. I can't express that enough. And with little kids, they get bored and you got to find all these things. I mean, it's just tough. So I have this like, when the first time I have to like crank up the AC in my car and it's like March or April and the heat, I'm just like, my whole mood changes and I get into a funk for months. And when then the fall starts to hit and like a good football weekend happens, and maybe I can walk outside and maybe I got to put like a little light jacket on or something. My whole, like my shoulders relax and everything about my life just becomes so much more peaceful. So from like October through like April, I'm in a great mood. And then May through September, I'm just like, how fast can we get through this? No, there's no good sports season. I'm just not a big baseball guy. And so there's just like, once the playoffs end, I'm like, okay, we're just here. All right. Anyway, so once you get into the fall, you start to have the cooler weather. You have people back into a rhythm. You can do a lot of ministries. Like we're usually like preaching in series by then. We're talking about our vision for the church, and there are just fun things happening. You're getting ready for Halloween, and then you got Thanksgiving and Christmas. You've got Advent. You've got all of these fun things coming up, both in the church and just in the world.
Right.
And I just feel like I love the fall, like coming through like kind of October to December is really my favorite time of year.
Oh, easily.
And I think a lot of it is because of that rhythm. Now, the thing that's really hard too is that rhythm is in play until you get to the week of Thanksgiving. And then it's so chaotic because you've got Thanksgiving, December's insane for everybody. You're trying to end the year. You got Christmas parties. I mean, just everything kind of goes nuts. And so,
I mean, that's
you really only got 2 or 3 months of rhythm.
I can get into the nuts of the Christmas season, and I look forward to it. Now, granted, I overdid it last year.
Yeah,
2024 December. I was, my goal this year is to say no to way more things because I was so overwhelmed, and I loved it because like everything I go to, I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, there's
lights everywhere, there's cookies everywhere, the weather is great. I could do this all day, and I did do it all day, every day. And so to like kind of pump the brakes on that a little bit, but yeah, man, that whole season, I'm very excited about it this year, especially this year. I feel like I made just kind of ramp it up even more than I did the previous year every single year just because I love it so much.
I feel like mine comes in waves. Like, and I can tell by how much I like how many new Christmas decorations did I buy this year or new Halloween decorations for my house. And it usually comes in where if I go crazy one year, the next year I'm like, I we're fine with what we have. Maybe we'll just put lights on the house and that's all we'll do. But the kids are at such a fun age. They love the holidays. So I usually get into the spirit when we get there. But last year I was kind of in that kind of place. So
you also
I can already feel it coming.
You have the benefit of this year. Now you have a new church to play with,
right?
With all the decorations and everything's going to feel new, and you're going to be riding on high.
Yeah, we'll see where the energy goes, but no, I couldn't agree more. I think getting into that rhythm of the fall really is helpful, and it just feels more rhythmic than the spring for some reason. I don't know why, but I think just the fall. Maybe it's the week to week of like the football season is just big culturally for us, and so that kind of feels like each week is kind of episodic. And even like the holidays, like there's like a Thanksgiving week.
Yep.
We're in the spring. I mean, it's spring break takes people out, and Lent is not a week; it's like a whole season. And even in Advent, you have like a theme for each week of Advent, and so it's very episodic, and it's weeks through the fall. And now I feel like the spring's kind of all over the place. So. Yeah. I don't know.
Lots to look forward to.
I'm so excited. And that's where, especially because I'm new, like the summer in general is just kind of sporadic and all over the place. And that inconsistency kind of, I'm a creature of habit. And so it's tough for me when that inconsistency is the norm for everything. But especially because it's new now, I feel like I'm finally through these listening groups, like I'm learning names, I'm learning traditions. When I think of church, I think of Creekwood, and kind of getting into that space. Now getting into the heart of it where, okay, I feel like I've learned some things. I feel like I've learned some names. Now, like, let's get to work. I feel like it's kind of training camp for me. Like I'm trying to get onboarded, and I'm very ready for September to just kind of hit the ground and get into that rhythm. So yeah.
Well, join us for that rhythm because it's going to be good.
Coming soon.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us on Sunday Plus. Catch you in the next one.
See you next week.
Peace.